มวยไทยคือชีวิต
All right, this is Eric Rivera with Muay Thai is Life. I'm here with Eddie Cuello and Mike Gasparski from Take On Productions here in New York. Basically, we wanted to talk to them a little bit more about their production company or their promotional company up here in New York that promotes the Muay Thai scene, local Muay Thai scene in New York and the tri-state area. They've been doing really great, have had a lot of events. They just celebrated their 1-year anniversary with the event. They just had an event here last night at the MMA Expo. It ran really, really well. So to talk a little more with them, we want to know how you guys started. How did you guys start out? How did you guys meet? I know Aziz is also part of the company, so talk to us a little bit about that and how you guys started out.
Well, it's a funny story the way we started out. He's actually lived and trained and fought in Thailand. I was actually training for a fight. I got injured, and I was sitting at home 6 months on disability, not doing nothing, and sitting at home, and I guess idle hands, the gears start turning and stuff like that. Him and I have been fight fans and going to all the the local New York fight scene, and we always thought to ourselves like, damn, these are good shows, but we could definitely do it better, especially since we're both fighters and we looked at it through a different set of eyes. Instead of looking at it, as a promoter, we looked at it as a fighter. How could we improve these shows? And then, just sitting at home and not doing much, him and I started meeting. We started getting a little bit more into it, started talking, and then sure enough, it went from just talks to actually, getting some of the stuff done. Him and I did a lot of the legwork, a lot of the, the initial stuff that you have to do with the website and, the legal stuff. And him and I approached Aziz, and he saw like the enthusiasm in our eyes, and like that we were really serious about it, and he jumped on board, and it's been one hell of a roller coaster ride ever since.
Well, I mean, Aziz is well known in the Muay Thai community, especially with Sitan and how well you guys have done in a lot of tournaments locally, Philadelphia. I mean, the Philly gym, New York gym, your Arizona gym. How besides, I mean, just basically helping out, him being one of the bigger names behind the promotion, I mean, what else has Aziz helped you guys out with? Well,
I mean, I guess we have certain titles, but ultimately, everything that gets done by us three. I guess you can call Aziz the matchmaker. I'm the promoter, and Mike is everything else.
Mike fills in the gaps.
Mike is the tape that holds everything together. So
I focus more on the production aspect of it, on the media relations, on trying to get sponsors involved, on trying to get the word out about what we do. I think to answer your question, one of the big assets that Aziz brought to us was when we first came out. Even though we're involved in the fight game, it's hard to get some of these fighters that have been around to fight for a company that they don't know, and everybody has to start somewhere. And having his name behind it, and his reputation, a lot of the coaches were very comfortable having their fighters fight on our card, knowing that it's going to be reputable, it's going to be well done, and the fighters are going to be taken care of the way they deserve to be taken care of.
Most important.
So it definitely it was a good stamp of approval to put on what we were doing. It would have been a lot harder to have some of these top fighters from the different camps fight on our show if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, luckily, especially with new fight promotions, when just because people wouldn't know who we are. I guess coaches would be a little bit apprehensive about giving us their cream of the crop fighters or some of their pro fighters. So maybe they would just want to, there's nothing wrong with beginners and nothing at all. I'm a beginner myself. I have less than 5 fights. So, but right from the get-go, just, when some of these gyms saw that Aziz was with us, he was part of their promotion, they were like, oh, okay, here, take whoever you want. You have, our complete support, and which is pretty much all the positive feedback that we got from every single gym that we approached.
And if they were apprehensive about it, he could always throw them in the clinch, throw a couple knees, exactly. And he convinced them our way.
Well, I mean, you guys have definitely been growing a lot of, have made a lot of headway in the fight game, especially Muay Thai. We focus a lot on the Muay Thai community growing in the United States because we don't get as Muay Thai fighters, we don't get as much exposure. I mean, I'm a Muay Thai fighter myself. I've actually fought on their show. I like how you guys.
Great.
Yeah, I like how you guys take care of the fighters. Everybody made great comments about it. It's a really top-notch promotion, and I mean, I wanted to talk about you guys had. The first ever 8-man tournament, pro tournament, was held by these guys. It was here in New York. How was it? It was like a couple months ago, like July. It was in July. Really, really top-notch names came in. They had Mark DeLuca out of Pittsburgh. They had Omar Ahmed from here in Sitan. You had Gabriel Vargas from Canada. So they had a lot of top people in there. I mean, Did you guys ever expect, because really you've been only in the business a year, but you've gained a lot of, have a good reputation. I mean, did you guys ever expect it was going to blow up the way it's kind of blowing up?
I mean, we kind of had a little bit of a feeling. What we wanted to do everything that everybody else wasn't doing.
Yeah.
We wanted to do things a little bit differently and throw a different angle in on the fight game. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we just did that tournament. We just did this tournament last night where the guy got a free trip to Thailand. The winner, Brett from the Walk, got a free trip to Thailand. So, like I said, we just want to do everything a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And because, the fight game is the fight game. I mean, fight fans are always gonna love to go to fights. But when you do something a little bit different, you might grab that one person who's maybe has never even seen Muay Thai and say, oh wow, these guys are putting up $10,000 for a one-night tournament. Let me go check it out, Yeah. So, like I said, we just wanted to do everything a little bit differently to give it something different, It's New York.
Yeah.
You can't just keep doing what everybody else is doing,
Yeah. And I mean, one big thing is that a lot of, I mean, how do you guys feel on a changing subjects a little bit? How do you guys feel? I mean, you're competing with a really, really rising, the really rising popularity of MMA. Yeah. Like I said, we really want to promote the Muay Thai scene. MMA has helped Muay Thai really come to popularity because it's an integral part of what a lot of the fighters have to train. But Muay Thai can definitely grow on its own. It can have its own shows. It can have its own promotion. It can really grow on its own. I mean, what do you guys think? Is it been hard to compete with the MMA community? Have you guys made headway into them? You know
what? We don't really try to compete with them because the UFC is the UFC. There's no competing with them. Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of the fans that we've created were MMA fans also. So like I said, we're not looking to compete with any of them. But I think you're totally right. I think that Muay Thai and just a striking game in general has nothing but an immense amount of room to grow in this country. So like I said, we're not really trying to compete with them, but
I personally think that the growing presence of MMA actually helped us gain popularity because a lot of people who are fight fans may not be familiar with Muay Thai, but MMA and especially the UFC, they expose Muay Thai as the integral part of the striking in the MMA. So I think that has definitely helped us put Muay Thai on the board and promote it and help it grow. Personally, I mean, we're not against doing MMA fights as well and K1 and Muay Thai rules, but I think just promoting the fight game in general, everything kind of goes hand in hand. So it's a boost in the right direction, regardless.
And when you have some of these fighters like Shogun Rua and Tiago out of Top Team down in Florida, these guys are and Anderson Silva obviously too. These guys were ultimately they were Nakmois maybe before they started fighting MMA. So the good thing is we have talented commentators like Joe Rogan who can pinpoint it out when these guys are in the cage and they're fighting. It's, oh, this guy's a Muay Thai fighter. These are all Muay Thai techniques. So when people in the crowd, when they're watching on pay-per-view or when they're reading the magazines and they see that the commentators are mentioning Muay Thai, it's helping us also at the same time.
I mean, yeah, you could tell it's definitely grown because in a lot of ways, before a lot of people didn't know, before you would say back in the day, Muay Thai, nobody knew what you were talking about, but now it's become like a very, very standard term, so it's definitely grown. I mean, one thing that I wanted to ask you guys also is, what are your feelings on the growth of Muay Thai in America? I mean, for a long time, we've been kind of playing catch up with the rest of the world. Obviously, the Dutch, the Europeans, you have the Japan, Thailand. Obviously, they're well ahead of the game. But we have really talented Nakmois here in the U.S. that you guys have had them on your cards, and we've tried to feature them as well. So what are your thoughts on the growth of it so far? I mean, you're getting good feedback. So,
I mean, ultimately, I think the economic climate that we're in has a lot to do with everything in this country, not just the fight game, but. Look at what made MMA and UFC so big. It was the reality show, The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, we had the Contender Asia, but it didn't really have a lot of fighters or guys on the show that the American crowd could really relate to, mainly because a lot of them didn't really speak English and because we didn't have an American presence on the show. So I think if something like that were to come out in the United States with a couple big sponsors and just marketing and just getting the word out there, but ultimately, if you can get a couple of American guys on the type of show, or maybe make a Ultimate Fighter style, reality show here in the U.S. with some American Nakmois, some American Muay Thai fighters, I think it'll definitely catch on, 100%. And like I said, a couple of big sponsors in there, like the UFC has Burger King and Harley Davidson and Bud Light now. So once people start seeing like household name brands, putting their stamp on Muay Thai, I think it's gonna be a lot easier to make Muay Thai a household name.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think a lot of the marketing for the sport is being able to expose the fighters.
Yeah.
You know, let the audience and the fans get to know who the fighters are, what they're about in their personal lives, and let them feel a certain connection with them. And I think once you see that, you'll be able to connect with them and the sport a little bit more. And I think that's one of the successes of UFC, and that's what we're trying to do, to expose some of these guys. I mean, they all have a different story. They all come from different walks of life. And when, you know, if the audience gets to see that, you know, you feel a certain connection with them, I think that helps the sport grow. Because ultimately, it is the fighters that make the sport what it is. I mean, you know. Yeah.
You know, ultimately, you know, when you look at, you know, even professional Muay Thai fighters, you know, a lot of these guys, yeah, it's their profession, but they all have day jobs. Most of them have day jobs. It's not like UFC fighters or MMA fighters where the pay might be a little bit more only because there's bigger sponsors and there's bigger companies and there's a bigger market for it. But, you know, a lot of these guys, unfortunately, you know, they bust their backs. They wake up at 5 in the morning, they go work construction, some work office jobs 9 to 5, and then they do it all on their off time just to make a couple $100, a couple $1,000 on a fight that took them, you know, 3-4 months of sacrifice and starving themselves and not seeing their kids and maybe not paying their car payments or, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, if we can somehow find that buffer to try to, you know, maybe have these guys take care of them a little bit better, you know, so they can, you know, be out there and train a little bit harder, train a little bit more, and just so they can focus in on it a little bit, because, you know, it's a young man sport. You know, we don't see too many guys, you know, pushing 40 still fighting Muay Thai, still fighting, you know, MMA, unless you're Randy Couture, but he's not human. So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was speaking with Shane Del Rosario, Strikeforce MMA fighter, WBC heavyweight, and he spoke with me yesterday, and he was kind of saying, you know, Muay Thai is, I agree with you that Muay Thai is sort of, he was talking about how a lot of the Muay Thai fighters do it because of the love of the game. You know, it's not a sport right now, and there's also another MMA blog site, I mean Muay Thai blog site, like ours, Muay Thai Authority, and the writer was also talking about how basically they do it for the love of the game as well. I mean, all these guys have day jobs and everything. I mean, it's really a sport that you gotta love. And I mean, I could tell that you guys are very passionate about it, and that's why I'm so happy to kind of have you guys, you know, talking to Muay Thai's life. I mean, one thing I want to talk about, I know that you guys have an upcoming fight, an upcoming event, December 11th. You guys have Omar Ahmed, who is from Sitan here in New York. He was the winner of the 8-man pro tournament. He got $10,000. I mean, he's a very, very talented fighter. So after the December 11th, tell us a little bit more about the December 11th event, and you know, what are you guys looking to do more this year? You know,
we're always looking to grow, just like any other company. You know, something going back to like what we were saying before, how a lot of these guys have daytime jobs. I work a 9 to 5 office job. He works 7 days a week.
9 to 8.
Yeah, exactly. Aziz owns his gym. You know, he's there from 10 in the morning to 10 at night all day. So what little few hours that we do have, we sacrifice a lot of sleep and a lot of girlfriend time. Sorry. And you know, so it's a 2-man full-time job, and somehow we pull it off between the 3 of us. So, you know, again, we're doing all this on our free time. But to go back to, you know, our December show, we have Omar actually fighting Kevin Molina. He actually fought on the 8-man tournament. Unfortunately, he lost in the first round. It was a really, really close fight. But we think that it's going to be a really, really exciting fight, only because of Kevin's abilities and his style of fighting. He's an Olympic-style Taekwondo fighter. He's multiple-time kickboxing champion. He's fought Muay Thai a handful of times. And just his style of fighting in general is just really, really flashy and really good for the crowd. So, you know, that coupled with Omar's aggressiveness and Dutch-style Muay Thai that he fights, I think it's going to be a really, really, really explosive main event. On top of that, for the co-main event, we have Pilo Dionarain, also from Sitan Gym, New York. She's actually just coming off of her World Championship victory for the WKA Worlds in Scotland, and she's actually going to be rematching another New York fan favorite, Sylvie Von Douglas, who fights out of Chucksabai Gym in Manhattan. They actually fought last year, so it's a rematch, but when the ladies fought, it was rough. They were pretty much beginners. They fought about a year and a half ago, and since then they both come, you know, leaps and bounds in their skills and in their their records and everything like that. So it's going to be really, really good. On top of all that, we're also going to feature a lot of the local talent, local amateur talent and stuff like that. We always bring in a lot of talent from Canada and from overseas and stuff like that. We're still working on a few different things to bring in some more international fighters for December. To go into 2011, we did 6 shows this year, 7?
7 shows.
7 this year. We're looking to do about 9 or 10 next year. So you know.
Hopefully by this time next year we'll be in MSG. That was one of the goals that we have. You asked us before about how we envisioned our progress. You know, the sky's the limit with this kind of thing. So, you know, we keep that goal there. If we come up a little short, you know, we'll get there in 2012. But our goal for 2011 is to be at least in the WAMU Theater and MSG, at a venue that could hold at least 5,000 fans. Our shows sell out, so we need to find a place with a little bit more space.
Yeah, that seems to me our worst problem right now is it's not really selling tickets. It's trying to find a bigger place because we sold out every single show, you know. So, but it's a good problem to have, right?
Take it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
It's better to have it than like that than, you know, getting a huge arena and only having a couple people in it.
That's
you know. So definitely, you know, you guys have, you know, just to talk a little bit more about these guys. I mean, I fought for the event. Really, really good production. One of the rising productions here in the U.S., especially on the East Coast. I think one of the better ones, as well as, you know, you guys compete with Friday Night Fights, but it's another great organization. So they're really doing a lot for the Muay Thai community. So I wanted to thank you guys for talking with me. Take On Productions, both of you, Mike and Eddie. Thank you very much for everything, and you know, I wish you good luck the rest of the year, and you know, hope to see you in one of the fights. Well, maybe I'll be part of it.
Hopefully, we'll see Eric on one of our cards again.
Yeah.
I think we've got something brewing for you.
Oh well, yeah. All right, that sounds ominous. All right, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You got it.